Hello, my dear students. Welcome to the subject of social science for the class 10th English medium. Today, we are going to discuss the very last chapter of your syllabus, that is, chapter number 21, Social Change. Yes, my dear students, this is going to be the end of your syllabus for the social science and a long journey of almost 10 to 11 months. But wait, I'm not going to complete this chapter in this tutorial. I have divided this chapter into three distinct parts because this is quite a large chapter. Although in this current board exams of 21, you are not going to give the exam for this chapter. This will not be a part of your syllabus. But for the future generations and on my personal feelings, I felt that this chapter is very important because this chapter deals with the very current problems and also gives some of the important information which I believe every citizen of India should know. So let's continue with chapter number 21, Social Change, the first part of this chapter, the first tutorial. The change that occurs in the social structure and the social institutions is known as social change. So, whatever changes is seen in the society, we call that समाज. समाज में जो भी परिवर्तन आते हैं, उसको we can call them the social change. Social changes have been seen in social relations, family arrangement, marriage arrangement, in culture, lifestyle of people, literature, art, music, and there are so many things in which the changes have been seen. How people live, what people eat, how people speak, how they behave, the family management, the marriage system, the education of the children, the upbringing of the children, everything has seen a tremendous change in the past centuries. Change has taken place in style of houses of people, in its building and construction. The changes in society, the living standard of people has improved. Awareness about law and its need. Because of low literacy rate, lack of knowledge and understanding, people lack information about day-to-day laws in our country. As the people do not have the knowledge about law, they violate law, but they are not forgiven from punishment or conviction. In the future, if you study the law line, you will remember that ignorance of law is not an excuse. There is a Greek term for that, but I don't know. I have forgotten it right now. So the ignorance of law is not an excuse. If you don't know law, it does not mean that you can break them. That means you need to learn basic laws. I'm not talking about being expert in laws, but you should know the basic laws so that you can avoid breaking those laws. But the problem in our country is that either people are illiterate or they don't care whether they are breaking the law or not, because by giving a 500 rupees bill or 1000 rupees bill, you can break any kind of a law you want. So don't do that. Learn the laws, respect the laws. Why is it necessary to have general knowledge about law? Why do we need to have the knowledge about law? People are saved from doing crime. If we know the law, we will avoid being a criminal. Because in India, once a police catches you and he is not in a mood to get some free money, you are not saved. They can get guidance regarding exploitation and legal steps. You actually, knowing the law just not avoids being a criminal, it also avoids being caught without any reason. Sometimes people try to exploit you, and if you have the knowledge of law, you can tell them that no, this is not legal and what they are doing is wrong. So it is possible we can enjoy our rights. Every citizen of India has certain rights, and we can exercise those rights when someone wrongly tries to convict us. So, knowing a law is very important. Become informed about various legal provisions which are made for our own protection. So if we know these legal provisions, we can protect ourselves. We can have loyalty towards our society, state, and nation, and so that we can contribute in the formation of a better society or a better state or a better nation. The person who knows laws can lead a better life than the person who does not know law. Why do I say this? For example, we are going by the road and the police stops us and asks us for bribes or money without giving a proper reason. So if we know the law, we can stop them. Okay, we have that right to stop them because they are violating our rights. Okay, now it depends on how much knowledge we have, how much confidence we have, or how much brave we are to act against a police inspector. But if we know the law, we can get somewhat confidence. uh, Many times we see that people harass the poor or the illiterate. At the same time, they can't raise a finger against the rich or the literate people. Why? Because those uh, people are afraid of us being literate. So if we show them the law, they will run away. So if we know the law, if we have that knowledge, have that literacy, then we can lead a better life than those who don't. For that, first of all, let's relearn the rights of citizens. We have six fundamental rights given by the Constitution, which no one can revoke in any conditions. These six fundamental rights are always there with us. These rights were suggested by the United Nations and implemented by our government. You guys have studied it in the standard ninth, but let's relearn it in short. The first right is right to equality. That means on not a single basis can we be discriminated. On not a single basis. That means we can't be discriminated on the basis of our religion, our food habits, our race, our caste, our gender, our locality, our nationality, our language, our skin color, our height, body. Not a single thing. Zero discrimination is our right to equality. Right to freedom. We are free, and that's very important. But one thing we should remember, that if we are free, we should not let others. That means if we are exercising the right to freedom, we should not stop anyone else from exercising their own right to freedom. That means if we are free, does not mean we can make others a slave. Remember that. Right against exploitation. If we are feeling that people are exploiting us, then we have the right to stop that. Right to religious freedom. Now this is very important, right? Because India is a secular nation, it does not means no one can exercise their religion or some selected few can exercise their religion. It means everyone can exercise their religion without disturbing the exercising of others religion. So you can exercise your religion, but remember that you cannot disturb others from exercising their own religion. This balance is very important. Cultural and educational rights. You have the right to preserve, maintain, and develop your culture and impart your cultural education. Right to constitutional remedies. Now this is very important, right? Because if any of the above five rights are violated, then the judiciary, the judges, the courts have uh, the duty to help us. That means if we feel that any of the above five rights are violated, then the Constitution gives us the right to get its remedies, and judges to help us, the courts to help us in getting our rights back. In if any of the state or nation violates these rights, it includes state, nation. That means even the government cannot violate our rights. Then in order to protect his constitutional right, citizen has the right to seek justice from high courts and supreme courts. But then there is a question, that what if high court and supreme court doesn't care about our rights? Now that's something you guys think on your own. Citizens have got this right under provisions in right to constitutional remedies. Thus, it is called soul of the constitution. That means the sixth right, right to constitutional remedies, is considered the soul of the constitution. It is the duty of the judiciary to protect the fundamental rights of the citizen. Again, the question arises that what if the judiciary only protects the rights of government and not the rights of citizen? It's just a question. Think on your own. It should provide simple, cheap, speedy, and impressive judgment. Now, this is clearly not seen in courts. Okay, nothing much. Rights of child. Now, this is something different. The six fundamental rights are for each and every citizen, but children have some extra rights because they are younger in age, they are dependent on their families, so they have some extra rights. Progress of any nation depends on the overall development of children living in it. If the child will be educated, protected, and righteous or virtuous, then he will become a good citizen and will contribute in the development of family, society, and nation. So, child development and child welfare are the preconditions for social development. That means बच्चों को डेवलप करना, छोटे बच्चों को पढ़ाना, उनको सिखाना, उनको अच्छा एजुकेशन देना, it is the basic condition for development of any nation, because child is like property of the nation, so his upbringing, maintenance and development should be taken care of carefully and with responsibility. Our primary duty, the main duty, is to take care that the child physically and mentally remains healthy, his moral abilities are developed, because morality is very important for a person. An immoral person, a person without any ethics, is not a good person at all. So a child must be developed morally from the childhood. He becomes a healthy, sensible, and responsible citizen by promotion of physical values. So it is very important that we developed a child from the cradle. The United Nations has proclaimed the rights of children with regard to their development in its Charter of Rights in 1992. These rights are as follows. Now, there are certain rights. Number one, every child has the right to live without discrimination on the basis of caste, color, language, or nationality. So that children must not be discriminated. Simple. Proper upbringing by parents. So every children has right to a proper upbringing by parents, because parents give birth to their children. So it also becomes a responsibility of the parents to give them proper upbringing. Now here proper upbringing is not absolute term, it's a relative term. Here proper upbringing does not mean that every children must go to a top notch school of the nation and every child must get a top notch kind of an education and clothing and food. No, proper upbringing means the best of the ability of their parents. Every parents have different abilities and the parents should give proper upbringing to the best of their own abilities. We can't say that the child of Ambani and me should get same upbringing. It is not possible. I am not Ambani and Ambani is Ambani. Okay, so to the best of my ability, I should give in the future my child a proper upbringing, and similarly Ambani with the best of his ability will give that latest kid, he has grand kid, he has got the proper upbringing. So it's like that. Okay, it's a relative term, the proper upbringing. So keep that in mind and don't harass your parents for the things which they may not be able to provide, rather than be happy for whatever they are providing, because every parent provides the to the best of their abilities. Okay, it's a legal right of the child to get education so that he can develop his personality. Now here the point is about education. The word schooling is not used, the word education is used. That means it is not compulsory that every child must go to a school and get education. The point here is every child must get educated, and there are so many ways of getting educated even without going to a school. Keep that in mind. Every child has right to a healthy life, so the parents must provide for, because uh, remember that being healthy is not that difficult. Okay, if you just want to stay healthy and eat healthy food, it is not costly at all, it is not difficult at all. But if you want the luxury, then that's the problem. Every child has a right to conserve his culture and live among his religious community. That means every child has the right to live and conserve his culture and religion according to his parents. Every child has right to protect himself against any physical or mental torture. Child has the right to obtain security and proper standard of living. So pretty basic right which every children, actually basically every person should have, but these are the specific rights provided to the children. Right for protection against exploitation. To injure a child or deliberately or accidentally, physical punishment or threatening, bitter speech or use of abusive language or insulting or publicly humiliating, sexual harassment, excessive battering, etc., physical and mental or both type of violence are considered to be child abuse. Now if you think guys are thinking that okay, we pass through these things regularly in school and home. Child means up to 14 years. Not every person is a child. Okay, child does not mean up to adulthood. No, children are up to 10, 12, or at make the most 14 years. Then they are not child, they are teenagers. Okay, so if you are studying in 10th, 11th or 12th standard, and if you are misbehaving, I feel you deserve that. It is learnt from newspaper, TV, or other mass media that children are becoming victims of exploitation by their blood relatives, kin, close friends, neighbors, close acquaintances, or parents. So it is our duty that whenever we see some physical signs of injury, and here simple slapping is not that okay, when parents slap their children, uh, they shouldn't slap too hard, but I feel sometimes once in a while children needs that kind of a punishment. It's, I'm not talking about that here, I am talking about severe beating. Severe beating I am talking about. Then we should help the child to get proper medical treatment. Generally, exploited children does not tell these things directly. They feel shy, they hesitate, they are afraid. So we should try to take those children into confidence. We should build a trust among us, and then we should try to get the details if the children are being harassed or exploited or physically beaten, and then take proper legal steps to stop that. The child who has suffered from exploitation or torture should not be treated, there is a printing mistake, should not be treated with disdain, or should not be neglected by the societies or friends, and rather he should be treated with utmost love, care, passion, and sophistication. Child labor and neglected child. Child labor is a global problem existing in every country which has to overcome quickly. All the laborers below 14 years of age are called child laborers, and according to UNICEF, India has the highest number of child laborers in organized and unorganized sector in proportion to its population. Okay. In Indian economy, child labor is seen in abundance in all sectors. But before we move forward, let me clarify this. Here, the child labor, the definition of child labor is that a child below the age of 14 has been employed at any hotel, business, organization, company, factory, or anywhere. The word employed here is very important. Here, employment means against money. That simply means that a children of a family using their own business is not a child laborer. That means a family is running a shop and their own children are working in those shops, they are not child laborers because they are not employed, they are the owners. Okay, if a family is running handicrafts business, and if their children from the very young age are learning those crafts, they are not child laborers, they are the part of their family business. So remember that those are not child laborers. Here child laborers basically mean children employed against salaries or wages in some factories and workstations and shops and all that. Those are called child laborers. Okay, moving on. Child labor is seen in abundance in all sectors like hotels, factories, construction fields, then hazardous jobs such as crackers business or agricultural sector as field laborers, animal husbandry, fishery, also seen in service sectors as servants, tea stalls, hotels, dhabas, garages, pulling car, distributing newspaper, picking up plastic or debris, begging or cleaning roads. All of these are the places where child laborers are seen. Let's move on to the reasons for child laborers. Now, basic reasons is poverty. Number one, because they are poor, they don't have any option, they have to work to make the ends meet. Illiteracy among parents and even in children, because parents or children are illiterate, they don't have good source of income, and because therefore they have to work at the very early age. Sometimes in the big family, children work to support the family members along with the family members. Sometimes family requirements are such that maybe the parents are not able to work or the parents have died and children are there for fending for themselves. Unemployment of adults in family. Other reasons are for the livelihood, those children are forced to do labor who had escaped to cities from home. Children leaving home, staying in cities, or parents have sent their children to the cities for the purpose of earning, which is seen everywhere, not just in India but even in other countries. Orphans or destitute children, they have to take shelters at either some relatives' homes or at jhuppadpattis, the those areas, and these relatives force them to do labor in return. They are also forced to do labor in return of foods. Okay, so these are the reasons for child laborers. Now, what is the reason for the demand of child laborers? We have seen that child labor is not good, it is bad, but child labor are there because people are employing them. Okay, children are working in factories because factory owners are employing children. If they are not employing children, children will not work there. So, what is the reason why rather than adult people, child laborers are demanded more? The first reason, it is the cheapest factor of production. Adults take more wages than children. Sometimes children are not even getting half the wages for the same work done by adults, and they are made to do more work than adults with less wages. They are unorganized. Children are unorganized. Adults have their unions, the workers unions, and they have unions everywhere. So when adults are exploited or unjustly they are worked hard, given less wages, they can protest. Children are unorganized, they can't protest in a group, and therefore it is very easy to exploit them. Due to lack of organization, they cannot raise their voice or cannot protest. Third point, work could be taken from them by paying less wages in hazardous condition. For assigned work, they are forced to work for more hours than the scheduled time by threatening or tempting. As child labour is easily available, so the number is more. Due to lack of educational facilities in the rural area, children are sent to work in order to fulfill requirement of the family at the age of schooling. Parents view them as more earning hands and send them to work. Thus, in the young age, children are deprived of games, entertainment, rest, childhood, love of parents, warmth, care, and education. So, what can we do to abolish this child labor? Many constitutional provisions have been made which are as follows. Number one, no child below 14 years will be employed in a factory or occupation or a job. If anyone breaks the law, legal action is taken. He cannot be exploited in any way in childhood or teenage, and he should be given moral security and physical comforts. After the implementation of constitution within 10 years, government will have to arrange free education for children up to 14 years of age. So if children up to 14 years get the free education, they will naturally try to study more. uh, in relation to this, central and state government have implemented law in 2009 so that children of 6 to 14 age group may get free compulsory education. So my dear students, with this I'm going to end my first tutorial. This first tutorial was basically about the child safety in the society. What is child labor? Where is it seen? Why is it seen? The reasons, the methods, and the constitutional provisions against that child labor. What we are going to study in the next tutorial are starting with the protection of elderly and helpless, and then we will move forward with other topics. I hope you guys have liked my tutorial. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe to it using the red button and then turn on the notifications so whenever I upload a new tutorial, you will get notified instantly. If you have any kind of a feedback, please write it down in the below comment box. I am Vitan Vora, a teacher of accountancy, statistics and social science. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial and I will see you next time.